Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity, and allow me to be the first to welcome you to the weekend. Yes, it's Friday. We are going to be back up next week with more from KSCRAFT, but today it's the paper clips and the candles. I've already made those, and we're going to be making the largest gingerbread. So somebody had asked to see the gingerbread being made up, so I'm going to do it the way I would like to do it. So let's get stuck in and I'll show you what we got and what we're using. So first up, I did the candles, and they come in a set of 3. So that's small, medium and large. Oh yeah, there we go. I just made them really simply, cream and green cardstock. And if you remember the lantern from yesterday, which is still on my table, I did the top one there, turned it upside down, but these will fit inside of the lantern. So, you know, if you wanted to pop a candle inside or on the outside, you can absolutely do that. Or if you want to make an embellishment, you know, just kind of cluster them all together and pop them on a card with a little sentiment. So, you know, you could just arrange them like that if you wanted to, and that's going to look really sweet. But if you're making a stack of them, pop them in a little box, then you've got an instant embellishment to pop onto a little Memdex or a Christmas card or anything. So just really easy to make, very quick. I popped that bit up onto foam pads so that it had a little bit of dimension. So that is the candles, and I guess we need to measure now they're made. And going to the base of that candle, that one's 2 inches. That doesn't include the flame. You can put the flame in whatever position you want. And then the smallest one is, just shy of 2 inches. And then your medium candle is, let's have a look at that, 2 5/8, if you can imagine that. Yeah, 2 5/8. So a sweet little set of candles. I might use one on the gingerbread yet, I'm not sure. So I'll just push those over to there, and then next up we've got the clips, and I always cut them double thick. So I use the cream cardstock twice and sandwich it together so that I've got something nice and sturdy. And of course these are embellishments that you can stick onto anything, journal pages, envelopes, pockets. Just really cute. Let's see how close we can get. I don't know if I'm blurred or not. I'm just going to go in microscopic and zoom out. There you go. So you get that little star there on that sleigh, and I've just put a little sparkly gem bead onto that one. Basil cardstock paper again, and I did the deer. Popped a little bit of glossy accents on his nose, so he's got a little shiny red nose. Dotted his eyes with a little bit of white pen, which is, if I've got it on my desk, there we go. It's this one, the extra fine tip Artistro. So that's how I dotted his little eyes. Double thickness again, so it can be used as an embellishment that's going to last. And then last but not least in that clip set is the gorgeous Christmas tree. I'm going to see how close we can get on that one. There, because you've got that lovely little bit of embossing, that little, can you see it, the wavy line? And then I'll just pop some gemstones onto that, but that's been cut double thick as well. So those are the paper clips and also the candles. So I'm just going to scoot those off to the edge, and we're going to be doing the gingerbread. Now it's the largest one that I'm doing, and I'm popping my scruffy mat down because we're going to be using some ink and some chalk. Now then, I have cut mine in white because I'm going to labour under the illusion that no one has any craft cardstock. Obviously, if you've got craft cardstock, it's the fastest way to do it. But I've done mine in white, and I'm just going to pretend no one's got any craft cardstock. I've also cut one in a pink gingham. This comes from the American Crafts bundled up digital collection. Now I've done that because I'm going to chop the arms and chop the bottom off. I've got a little bit of crepe paper here to make a skirt. This is from Dollar Tree. I've got a little pink bow which is going to go at the top, I hope, of my dress, or even on the waistband. And I've also got a little bit of ribbon that is going to make the waistband of that skirt. So you can see we're going to dress as. So I'm just going to move the clothing out of the way for a second. There we go. And that bit can be considered clothing. We'll do that in a minute. So we've got the body, and I want to use some Distress Oxide in tea dye. I think that might be quite a nice finish. And for the face, I'm going to stamp the face after because we're using oxide. If you stamp first and then use oxide, it kind of makes your black ink a little bit hazy. So do it afterwards. And I'm using a Peachy Keen face stamp. And I think these are the Sweet and Innocent set. So we're using that, and we're also going to be using chalk. So I'm using my birthday suit palette from Jane Davenport. And I've also got my blending sticks, which are, you know, lovely and yucky because I've had them a few years now. So we're going to be using that, and I'm going to be stamping in VersaFine Clair when I do. But first up, I totally forgot to go and get my blending foam, so I'm going to go and do that now. I'll just pause. Right, I'm back, and I've got my blending foam. So I'm just going to take the lid off here. You can see what colour this is. It's kind of gingery but not, a little bit vintage. So I'm just getting my blending foam and just scrooging it around until I get a lot of ink on there. And then we can just go in. Just going to ink up the whole thing. Just saturate it. Just pretend we haven't got any craft card stock. And if I want any, you know, sort of like darker elements or shadows or anything like that, all I need to do is just use a little bit of my chalk. So that's easy enough. But I kind of like this colour. It's a little bit prim. So there we go. Nicely blended. Try to keep my fingers out of it because you will get fingerprints in your ink if you don't. And I think one of the nice things as well about using distress inks on white cardstock, especially if you're doing something like this, I'll give you a close-up. It kind of looks itty-bitty, which is what biscuits look like, isn't it? If you know what I mean. They're not perfectly the same colour all over. So you get that kind of bittiness, a bit paler, a bit darker. And I just quite like that. So I'm just going to pause again while I clean my mat. It's filthy. Right, so that is tidied up. And now I've got my stamp and I've got my ink. So we're just going to stamp that up and we're going to give her a sweet little face. I've also grabbed a red and a white pencil that I might be using in a second. So I will show you that. Now then, I need to know that I'm going down straight and where I want it. That's the important thing for me. And because I can't really see what I'm doing, I'm going to go for that. I'll just give it a gentle rock. There we go. So now she's got a cute little face. And I'm going to let that dry for a second, but I'm just going to show you my pencils. Right. So I've got a Prismacolor in a poppy red and in a white. And it's useful to have things like this or very fine point gel pens so that you can go in and just do some very small detail. So I'm not pressing down particularly hard here. I just want us to have a little bit of a red mouth and a little bit of white to the eyes because that's really going to make it pop. Now, I'm not absolutely sure that my ink is completely dry, but if I can just get a slightly paler shade, that's all I want. Right, I think that will do. Yeah, that's kind of highlighted it a little bit better. So now her eyes are much lighter. Now you can also go in with another shade if you want to. I don't know what colour I've got on my desk here. Ooh, I've got black. I don't really want to use black. I'll probably go off and find my blue in a minute. But there she is with a little face. She's got a little red mouth, and I think I missed a bit. I'm just looking on the camera. So she's got a little bit of a gap there. So I'm just going to fill that in. There, that's better. And now we're going to add the features with the chalks. So just popping off the lid here. And I hope everybody's got one of these chalk palettes by now, because they're absolutely fabulous for doing characters. Now I'm going to make her a little bit cheeky, and I think I'm going to use the darker pink. And when you're using these, you can go off edge if you want to. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to move her over to the side, hopefully still in camera, while I pop my palette down so that you can see. So here goes. Ooh, I don't know whether I'm going paler or darker. No, it's got to be darker. And I've got pink all over this, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm getting some up. Now I can tell you that that is a huge amount that I just put on there. So I'm just testing it off on a scrap. Right, just go into your areas. Now it doesn't matter if you go outside of the area, because I'm going to go all the way up here and across here. I just think it enhances the cheekiness of them. I'm going to do exactly the same thing here. Just going to go up to the eyes and down, and then just turn it to yourself to make sure that you're kind of even. I'm a little bit lower on that side, so I'm going to drag my colour down a little bit there. Now if you want to go in and do some shadow, I'm just grabbing one that's got some brown on here. Go for something that's darker than your ink, and if you've got this palette, you'll know what colours I'm going into here. So I'm just dabbing up a bit of that. And you can, I mean, these are going to be covered in clothes, but I'll just show you that you can go in and you can go off the edge, make it look, you know, like it's just come out of the oven. Mine would not be this colour. I'd probably be inclined to leave them in there and let them burn. So now that I've done that, I'm going to add a little bit more on this side as well, just so that you can see. And I think that I might put some down at the bottom of the feet, because, you know, that's something that would have a shadow. So there she is. She's a little bit baked around the arms there. Perhaps a little bit more here. But let's put a shadow under the feet. I'm going to go there. So you can just totally run off whatever is on your brush, so that you don't have to overdo it. When I say brush, these are makeup applicators. And I'm going to get some clarity back. There we go. So these are for putting eyeshadow on. And I have linked these in the past. You can buy them in huge bulk, like 100 or 200 or something, for $5 on AliExpress. And if I can find them again, I will link them below. But I'm having some more shadow on her little feet. There. I kind of like that. Maybe a little bit down there. But as I said, you know, if you're doing your naked gingerbread and you're popping some buttons down there, then, you know, adding a little bit of detail like that is going to look fabulous. But because I'm dressing her, a lot of that will be lost except for the feet. Right, let's pop that away. I'll just pause a second and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we need some clothes, and that's where this one comes into it. Now, I'm hoping that I was clever enough to position my die so that I can cut evenly to get sleeves. I'm just going to go straight the way across on the head section, but you need to know how far down your skirt is going to go. Now obviously you can trim this, so I'm going to cut here and I'm going to cut there, and I'm hoping that I've got my position for my die correctly on my pattern. And you can do that with all sorts of patterns when you want to do stuff like this. Just line it all up. Right, so first of all I'm going to cut the arm off here. So now we've got that. You can of course use ribbons to finish your edges, or a little bit of rickrack if you've got it. And now I've got that one, so if I pop that down, we've got little sleeves to the dress. And now I'm just going to go across here on this stripe, so it's coming slightly off the curve. And then I've gone up again. I might need to trim that off just to make it look like the other side. I've just got a tiny little nick. There we go. So let's look at the clothing. So she's got some little sleeves there. And then of course I'm going to cut it just there. That's going to be her waistline for me. So I'm just going to go straight along that stripe and remove that. Now you could, if you wanted to get all details and use a little round punch, you could make little matching shoes, put little buttons or bows or something on there if you wanted to do the feet too. Right, so this is looking odd, you might think, but I'm just popping that there, and then I'm going to get my bow and see how that looks, because I hope it's big enough to hide the fact that I've gone straight the way across. And it is, goes right underneath her, bless her. And of course this is going to be the ribbon on her waistband before we get to the skirt. So the next thing that I need to do now is to do the skirt. Now we can always trim the skirt afterwards, so we're just going to make it and have a look. So I've got this here. I might double it up actually. I think doubled up will look nice. So I've got it folded over. Now I'm not sure if my glue is going to seep through to do it or not, but I'm going to apply glue, and if it doesn't I'll just have to glue it closed, but I'm hoping it's going to squidge through. And then if I put it on this side it's going to be a lot easier for me. And we just want to ruche it up. Now I don't mind getting my fingers all yucky. Try and be as even as possible. Remember, this doesn't have to be huge because it's only a small waist. I'm just hoping, I'm moving it around as I go, that the glue goes through all of those layers as I make my little pleated skirt. And I've got glue all over my fingers, which doesn't help. And I hope that you can see this, and I haven't got it in the wrong position because I can't see the camera right now. And of course we can trim this to a curve afterwards. I'm going to go to there. I think that might actually be the width of the waist. Let's have a look. I'll use, where's it gone? I'll use this piece to measure. I'll do one more, just in case she needs a little bit of float coming off the edge. So I'm just going to go along there. And I'm going to bend that up. So as I said, you can always trim it. And I do believe that my glue has absorbed through all of those layers. And the bit that I'm squishing with my finger, don't worry about that, because we can always trim it. Right, I'm going to let that dry and I'll be back in a second. Right, I think that's okay to play around with. And while it's damp, you can manoeuvre it so that you've got more of a frilly skirt. Now this is the top of the dress, so you can kind of position it on there to see where you want to go, and you can start to see the bits that you want to trim off. So I'm going to glue that down onto here. I can see which bit that I want. Remember to put my lid on. And I quite like the shape of it there. So I'm going there and I'll be back in a second. Right, that'll do for that. And you can see we've gone up and under the arms and over. But now we're going to manipulate that. Like, fold it out of the way so that your arm sections are free again. And you start to see what can be cut off. So I'm going to get rid of that piece there. And then because you've got it pleated, you can still fluff it out. And then of course I've got this bit here that I don't want, so I've got to look at it for a minute. There we go. Because you don't want more bulk than you need. And now we've got a little skirt. So if I pop that down, I can put my piece of ribbon onto there now, which is going to hide all of that. So we're going to go across there. I've got a little bit more than I need, so I'm just going to cut a piece off. And this is going to take me a couple of minutes to dry because of my humidity. But I'm going to get that down and then I'll come back when it's dry. Right, I'm hoping I got that straight. I'm just going to squidge it all the way along. Right, I'm going to let that dry and I'll be right back. And I'm just back quickly because I've decided I'm also going to glue a piece of twine onto there because I quite like the idea of those two together. So I'm going to cut a piece of this off. And I'm going to run a bead of glue against my ribbon again. Just along there. And I'm going to pop that on, hopefully in the centre. And I'll let it dry and I'll come right back. Okay, so this is what we've got now. We've got the little bit of twine stuck onto the ribbon and she's got her little skirt there. If we flip it over, we can see the bits that are hanging out, and that is your best way to trim off your excess. So just go into there and just get rid of that. Whoops. You can see she's got a little waistband and her little bit of twine. And now I'm going to do exactly the same thing on that. I think I'll cut up that way. That makes more sense. Right, so I've got rid of the ribbon. But I've still got my twine there. My glue is still a little bit damp actually. So now she's got her pretty little dress. Hope that you can see that. Right, the next thing that I need to do is to glue it onto her body. And you can see there, look, how wet that is. And this is pretty instant drying glue. I mean, I'm really happy with it, but sometimes my humidity just gets the best of everything. So I'm going to get her dress on for her. Just pick that up. And we can line it up with her armpits to know that we've got it straight. And then we need the bow into the centre. Just underneath her chin. And that will hide the fact that that has been cut straight across. And I'm just lifting her up to see if I've got any glue where it shouldn't be. And I've got a little bit there. So I'm just giving that a press. I'm going to get my lid back on. And I'm going to move my stuff. Just pop that over to there. So there she is. Now, if you wanted to, as I said, you can get your ribbon and you can trim off the edges of her sleeves. But isn't she sweet? If you've got any little Santa hat dies, you could pop one of those onto her. Just absolutely gorgeous. You pop some buttons down the front of her dress. In fact, I'll just grab my little twinkles and I'm going to do just that. Right, so I've grabbed my kind of Valentine Christmas twinkly mix, and it's the pink ones that I want, so I'm going to have some fun pulling those out of here. I managed to get 2 pink. Put that one back in. So I've got glue on my fingertips. Whoop. Right, I'm going to use 3 of those down the front of her little dress. So I've got my pickup tool. I'm just going to spin those over. Once I remove the glue from my fingers. Ooh, what a calamity. It's not my fingers I want it to dry to, it's the paper. Right, that's better. Right, we're going to find the centre. Now 1, 2 and 3. And I do hope everyone is going to have an awesome weekend. I really do. I know things can be a little bit trying at the moment, but you know, stay positive and craft on, that's what I say. So now we've got 3 little twinklies on her dress. Isn't that sweet? Ooh, she looks so lovely. Now, as for holding a candle, these are the things that I already made. I'm not sure if she could hold on to a candle. She certainly could. There you go. So she will hold on to a candle. But that is what I have for you today. And like I said, I do hope you have an absolutely awesome weekend. As usual, all links are below, and I will be up again on Monday with more from KSCRAFT. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.